Okay, I'm doing a video about how to change the brakes and rotors on a 2000 WJ Jeep Grand Cherokee. Right now I'm running 32s. I've been getting some Death Wobble, honestly, from some brake harmonics, so I thought I'd swap up to some better rotors and brakes while I was working on that anyway. So these are the rotors, these are the brakes. I'll go through some of the basics, but the first thing is jacking up your Jeep, taking off the tire. I want to do that. Okay, so this is with the wheel off. Here you can see this is the rotor. This is the brake caliper. These are the brake pads. For my repair today, it'd be sort of like a brake job and that we'd be taking off the pad, except I need to take off the entire caliper housing so I can pull off the rotor. So I'm going to replace the rotor and the pads. We're going to keep the caliper. To do that, the back, when you're usually doing a brake job, you loosen this bolt alone. And we're probably still going to do that because we're going to swap out the brakes. But I also will have to take off this bolt right here. There's two of them. One on top, one down there, right there. So those two will make it so we can remove the entire brake caliper housing. Now we'll make it so we can get the rotor off. And that's what I'm going to head to next. Okay, just for ease of use, or so you guys can find it, this is actually the type of bit you're going to want for when changing the brake pads. You can see it's not it's having a hard time focusing, but it's a star. That's what it comes down to. There you go. This is what you need. It is a Torx T45. That's what you'll use for this top one right here when you're taking off the brakes. Okay, so here's where I'm at right now. I loosened these bolts right here, top and bottom, to make it so I can remove the brake caliper. That's like what you do for a regular brake job. Use a screwdriver to pry the springs off the side so you can pull that out. And we're going to remove this whole thing. Because you don't want it taking any weight onto the brake lines. I'm going to put it on this jack stand over here. You could wire it or do other things, but just so it's not putting any weight on the brake line. Okay, now what that does is that'll expose these two bolts that we were talking about earlier. One of the things you'll want to do is, like, this is your ABS wire. I pull that out so I'm going to get more space in here so I don't screw it up. Also, just a note on this caliper, this is one of those ATE teva. They only did them for a couple years. But either way, they had a problem where they didn't clamp equally, and it's frequently, just to help you out, anytime you do your brake job or something, it's not a bad idea to remove this bolt and lube it back up so you get good sliding action, so you get equal force on both sides. Okay, so what I'm going to do next, and I've already started it, is started backing out this one. I'm going to get this one, that'll be the harder one. Back out that one, and that should bring off the rest of the caliper. I mean, the rest of the rotor. Okay, this is the caliper piece taken off. Once you get that off the back, it makes it so the whole rotor can just come right off. Yeah, that thing's rusty. Okay, now before I put on the new rotor, I'm going to scuff off all the rust and stuff. I mean, I've got a Michigan truck, so rust is always the issue. Same thing, clear up all the places for rust. I'm going to take out those bolts, I'll put on new grease, and I'm going to pull out the pads, get the new pads in place, and then assembly is really the same, reverse. Just put on the new one, bolt on the caliper plate. This is the caliper plate. Goes right here. Then bolt the caliper back to that, and you'll be done. Okay, let me show you something. Honestly, I probably should be replacing these calipers as a whole. I pulled them out, I cleaned off the surfaces, sanded them down, all these points. So everything will be even, but like I was telling you, you're going to want to take out these sliders and grease them up. Here they are. That's one of them. Before you put them back in, and I'm going to do that again. This one, check out these pads. The pads, I was getting a strong wobble. You can see there's a lot of brake pads still on there. But the key thing, I don't know if you can make it out, but there is more brake pad at the top. It's thicker here than at the bottom. It's thinner. So that means it was riding, you know, angled. So it's not braking evenly. This one on the outside was okay. Lots of pad, it's all even. But this one was clamping unevenly. And it's giving me throbbing and stuff. Okay, anyway, so we're going to replace that, clean off the surfaces there, and then we'll put in new brakes. Okay, this is with the rotor on. I don't have the bracketry on yet, but that's going to go on first. Then put on the bracket. Okay, here's with the bracket back on. Those bolts right there. And this one. Next we're going to mount the caliper back to it. Well, I'll put the pads in, then I'll mount the caliper too. Okay, these are the new pads. The ones with 2 springs go inside the twin pistons. Nice and thick. The ones with single spring tab sticking out, it's under here, goes on the outside. Tab to the bottom. Okay, this is it with on there. Have the caliper back on. These bolts are put back in. New rotors. Okay, last thing is just take off those last lugs that I was using to hold the rotor on there so it didn't move around too much when I was playing with the other stuff. Take those off, put on the tire, and it's done. There we go. New stoppers, rotors, and ceramic pads.